Now here's your host, Jason Voorhees. And Aaron Savage.
Oh, yeah!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports and Metal Podcast. We are your hosts. This is Aaron Savage. With me, as always, Mr. Jason Voorhees. What's going on, Jay?
What's up, brother?
How are you, man?
Doing all right.
Good. Very excited about the show this week. We have a special guest, East Coast Promoter Christina Avilla. But before we bring Christina out, we'd be remiss if we didn't at least mention the coming out party for Carl Nassib, the NFL's first active NFL player to come out as gay. So that's a big moment in sports history, NFL history. It's almost like a Jackie Robinson moment. It's almost like Rob Halford coming out. I mean, if heavy metal is like a macho game, then the NFL is the other macho game. So this is like, to me, this is like on that level, you know, as far as that goes. So big announcement there. And other big news in the metal world this week, Metallica announced that they're going to be releasing a 30-year anniversary re-release of the Black Album. It's insane. It's going to have a remastered version of the Black Album. I think there's bonus tracks. Oh, look at that. I'm playing it by accident. There's one of the cover tunes. I don't want to get us muted for copyright infringement there. But they're going to have there's going to be a whole, I think, like 56 artists or 36 artists, something like that, covering various songs from the Black Album on a bonus album, or I don't know if it's multiple discs on the set, but I saw highlights of it or heard portions of it. Miley Cyrus was doing, I Think Nothing Else Matters. I mean, it ran the gamut. I mean, there was a cover of Struggle. One band did The Struggle Within. I mean, there was country musicians, pop musicians, metal musicians. So musicians from across the board covering their favorite Metallica tracks from the Black Album. That's going to be part of the re-release. So, Jay, I'm super excited about that, bro.
Oh, no doubt. I'm stoked. I can't wait.
Me too, man. It's big news. But without further ado, we do have a special guest this week. She's an East Coast promoter of heavy metal bands. Some of her roster includes, or artists that she's worked with, includes Stepchild, which was a pretty big band on the Strip in the late 80s. I know they played with guys like Great White, things like that. Toured with a lot of musicians. They played at Gazzarri's. They played, the Whiskey A Go-Go. She's also manages the Renaissance Rock Orchestra, of which we had Greg on last week. She's worked with a lot of bands. So without further ado, let's welcome to the show, Christina Avilla.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Christina, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. I hope I'm saying it right. Is it Avilla?
That's right.
Awesome. I didn't want to mess it up.
That's okay. I've gotten so many.
Yeah, Greg was on the show last week joking he couldn't pronounce it.
It's a Spaniard name. I'm part Cuban, and I also have a Spaniard in my family.
Okay.
Avila is a city in Spain, so a lot of people assume it's a Cuban name, but it's a Spaniard name.
Okay, cool. So, Christina, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you got into music promotion?
I just turned 48 years old. I'm part Cuban, Spaniard, Syrian, American. Growing up as a kid, music was a big thing. I have 3 older sisters, 18 years older, a 16-year-older, and a 9 years older. And the 9-year-older lived at home when I was little. And just Saturday mornings doing chores and watching American Bandstand, Solid Gold, Soul Train, and trying to do housework, trying to do chores, and just watching those shows. And that just brought music into my life. When my dad used to work for a shipping department called Bridgeport Machines in Bridgeport, on Fridays when he would get paid, he would come home, my mom would put lipstick on, a pretty red lipstick, and they would be dancing. So all those stories about my parents dancing as a kid also.
Okay.
I started doing the promoting. I lost my dad 11 years ago.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Thank you. Music was something so big, and I want to do something in his memory in honor of my dad. My best friend, my fiance, my daughter were pushing me to start a music page. And I thought, okay. So I was working with 2 bands from London, Guilts and Pleasures in Heaven's Basement, and unfortunately they broke up. But then from then, I started working with other musicians. Made some mistakes, like we all do. Worked with the wrong people, but I took a break. Last April, sadly, I lost my mom.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so it's more of an honor to pay tribute to her and my dad on what I'm doing now. And now, from the words of advice from my father and my mom, to work with the people that have been good to you, to support, to keep on going. Just good advice. To
Cool.
be kind, forgive, move on, let go, don't have regrets, don't have grudges. And since losing my mom, a lot of the musicians that I've worked with, you know how it is. I mean, some of them are great, and a lot of them I've been very blessed with. But then again, I was trying to fit in, making some mistakes, working with the wrong people. Never been to LA in my life. Always wanted to go into the LA scene as a kid. So that's what I feel like I'm doing right now is being part of the 80s metal scene in LA.
So obviously you're a child of the 80s metal scene. That's
Oh, yep. I was
yeah.
born 1973. So, yep.
As we are. We're a couple years younger, but we grew up in the same. So you talk about you do this as a tribute to your parents. What kind of music were your parents into?
Oh,
And
God.
how did you get into the 80s metal?
Well, my dad was Cuban, so he taught me how to Spanish dance. My mom was from here, but her family was from the Middle East. So they loved, they used to go ballroom dancing. They used to walk to this really cool ballroom. They used to do ballroom dancing. My mom used to do the jitterbug.
Okay.
But my mom also did Syrian, Middle Eastern dancing. And we were taught that as kids from my mom, too. They just always had Glenn Miller Band, Frank Sinatra, Perry Como. We grew up with all kinds of stuff. I mean, from that to the Bee Gees to all kinds of stuff as a kid. They took me to my first concert, I think I was 11 or 12, with a Spanish band called Menudo. Ricky
I remember Menudo. Ricky Martin.
That was my first concert that my parents took me to. So, yep, that's how it all started.
Okay. So how'd you make the transition into 80s metal girl?
Well, I'm still into Spanish music. I love Syrian music. But that was just something that I grew up with. Our local mall had 2 record shops, Record Town, Graf London. And I just remember probably I was a junior in high school. All of these so-called girls all had boyfriends or friends with long hair. So I wanted to fit in. So I would wait in line for the CD or cassette, not knowing what it was. I just wanted to meet a guy. And that's how I started, by going to the record stores, hanging out, getting into trouble, innocent trouble. But yeah, that's how it started.
Awesome. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your business? What is the name of your promotion company? And how have you recruited the artists that you're currently working with or that you've worked with in the past? Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
My business is Christina Avilla Artists and Promotions. I'm working by myself. I don't have a team. Some of the time it's been hearing of a band from someone that I know, going to see the local bands here in Connecticut. We just started opening up. We were shut down for a while because I'm close to New York.
Mm-hmm.
But then Northern Connecticut's close to Boston. So it took us a while to open up our venues. Some of our theaters are not even open yet. We don't even know, probably not until next year when the major theaters are going to open. But like word of mouth, going on Facebook, checking out different bands, checking out different genres. Friends of mine tell me about such and such a band. Sometimes I've reached out, some of them. Really good friend of mine who I met for the last time 2 weeks ago. His name is Roy Costin. He's in this phenomenal hard rock band in central New York called Love Bone. He was doing a show with his guitar students at a beautiful park because he's a guitar teacher for his local YMCA. And the guest vocalist who I got to meet was Ronnie Monroe from Middle Church and Trans-Siberian. And what a nice guy. Phenomenal, talented. My fiance went up. We got to meet Roy. We got to hang out with Roy. So Roy found me from someone that I was working with that he knew of. But sometimes it could just people, reaching out to me. Hey, I'm such and such a bass player, guitar player, looking for someone to get the word out for me. For now, I'm doing it for the passion, for the love of it. However, once things go back to normal, I don't even know if that's the right word to say. When bands are able to play out, or if I can get them to come here, I'll make a cut. We have a new theater, an amphitheater in Bridgeport called the Harvard Healthcare Amphitheater in Bridgeport, and it's going to be beautiful. It's going to open the end of July. And if I can get some bands to come here to play next year, I'll make a cut from that. But for now, it's just going out, supporting, doing videos, taking pictures, doing things like that, getting the word out, getting them interviews, just things like that to help them out.
So right now, this is all just for the passion of it.
I've been doing this for about 4.5 years, and it was always about the passion, the love of it. My gosh, I worked with so many people. I started out working with 2 sets of twin brothers. The name of the band was called Crosby. Now they're called War Brothers. And they were 20 years younger than me. So I learned a lot of what to do and what not to do. But it was a fun experience working with them. Just so many people. In New Jersey, I had gone to 6 or 7 years ago, probably longer, to a holiday show with this featuring this band called Rock Candy. And they've been a cover band for 30-something years. And the front man is named Ian Chris, and he told me about Rick Fox. They played in a band together in the 70s called Sin. Rick Fox is the original bass player from Wasp. Mm-hmm. And Ian told me about Rick. I reached out to Rick. I've been working with him, and Rick has been guiding me along the way of who to work with. And I don't want to say who to work with, who not to work with, but he's been a big influence of mine. Now Greg Fox is a huge influence of mine. Kevin Jones is a big influence also. Roy Costin, Ronnie Robson. He's a touring and session bass player from Toronto, Canada. Roy introduced me to a well-known guitar player who's toured with Foghat, Leonard Skinner, and so many musicians named Lou DiBello, who's in Chicago, Illinois. So the list goes on and on and on.
Cool. Yeah, Rick Fox is originally from Amityville, New York, so he's a local East Coast guy.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I gotta say, I mean, so far, like, just what I'm getting, I mean, it's pretty impressive. Like, you basically started this, you didn't go to school for it. You just basically kind of, it became a passion, and now you're just running with it. And I think that's amazing. I think it's an amazing story. Like, you mentioned Ronnie Monroe. Like, I got to say, like, he's one of my most underrated vocalists, I've ever heard. Honest to God, I'm a diehard Metal Church fan, and I actually liked the albums that they did with him the most. Generation Nothing. It was one of my favorite Metal Church albums of all time, and it never even gets talked about.
True.
That guy's an absolute, he can wail on the vocals, and I'm definitely, obviously, impressed with, the resume of the people that you've kind of come to know. It kind of brings me to my question. I kind of was wondering, like, what was the first metal concert that you ever went to?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you told us your first concert.
Yeah.
You said what you liked as far as music. What was your first metal concert that you ever attended?
Oh my gosh. I mean,
I'll tell you mine when you're done. So I'll tell you.
I was an adult. I wasn't, like 18 or 19.
It's okay.
Because in high school, I went to a Catholic high school, and I was the nerd. I was the geek. So I never really went out. I never did anything like that. I dated some guys, but they just weren't into the music that I was interested in. Oh my gosh, the first concert. Oof, that's a tough one. Geez Louise.
Put you on the spot.
I could be wrong. But I think it must have been maybe Def Leppard and Kiss. I think.
Okay.
I've been to so many concerts, but I think it must have been.
That must be later because I don't remember them touring together. I mean, going back to the Hysteria tour, I remember it was Tesla on the In the Round tour, the Def Leppard In the Round tour for the Hysteria record. Tesla opened that tour, and if you've heard the stories, Def Leppard had like a secret area under that stage.
Right. Yeah.
That's
I don't know if you consider Skillet to be metal, but I had seen Skillet.
So this is okay.
Skillet's Christian metal. It's still metal.
I saw them open up for Creed.
Okay, so yes, so we're talking early 2000s.
Yeah. I saw Sammy Hagar with Jason Bonham. It was like an anniversary of Led Zeppelin.
Awesome.
So that was one of our casinos. I had taken my daughter with my fiance to see that, and it blew me away.
Awesome.
Just blew me away.
So
I'm going to tell you my first concert. I'm sorry, Jay. What was that?
No, I was saying, so she's a late bloomer. Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. I'm going to tell you mine since I said I would.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you a funny story from that, and I hope I don't offend anybody. But it's a true, funny story.
Okay.
So, my first concert was at the PNC Arts Center in Homedale, New Jersey, 1987. Whitesnake on the self-titled tour.
Wow.
Big Whitesnake records. That was a huge tour. Great White opened the show. So my first concert, I was 11 years old. It was 87. I was 11 years old. My mom took my sister and I. And so, like I said, it was Great White and Whitesnake. I love the bands, love the show. It was a great era to see those bands. They were at their peak of their powers. And I'll never forget, first of all, smelling all the pot. I'm 11 years old. I'm like, what is that smell? Because I remember we had lawn seats. It was pouring rain like a monsoon the whole show, but I was in all my glory at this concert. The rain didn't bother us at all. Living the dream. And I'll never forget when David Coverdale introduced the band. And he goes, and on the bass guitar, this man has sucked more titties than any other man on the face of the earth. Mr. Rudy Sarzo.
Oh, gosh.
I'm 11 years old, and I'm standing next to my mom. Talk about awkward. I'll never forget it.
Oh, my gosh. That's amazing.
But, yeah, that was my first show. And I saw, starting probably in that summer, that was my beginning of seeing thousands of shows. Because back then in the 80s, the PNC Arts Center, well, that's what it's called now. Back then it was called the Garden State Arts Center, and it wasn't owned by a bank. It was, I think, owned by the Turnpike Authority, the New Jersey Turnpike. And you could actually get season tickets back then. So my mom got them. I remember we would go to a show every weekend. I saw the B-52s with the Violent Femmes. So not even metal shows. I saw the Beach Boys with John Stamos on the drums.
Oh,
remember when John Stamos was on Full House?
Yeah.
I saw that tour.
Uncle Jesse.
I mean, you name a show in the 80s, I saw it. It's starting in 87. Because we would go to, I'm embarrassed to say, especially on sports and metal, I don't know if I can get away with this, but I had a little sister. I saw Tiffany with the New Kids on the Block. You didn't hear that here. You did not hear that on sports and metal.
You know what? My first concert, my sister took me, she lived in Cleveland. Her husband worked for Nestle's, and he just retired. She lived all over.
Did you say Nestle?
Nestle's.
Okay, my stepfather worked for Nestle's. He just retired.
And he retired about 4 years ago, and she lived in Cleveland, Ohio. And my first concert has nothing to do with metal. My parents took me to see Menudo. I was about 11 or 12. Then when I was 15, I saw Debbie Gibson.
I saw Debbie Gibson.
Police Hill thing just like her.
I saw Debbie Gibson. Don't tell anybody. I saw it.
Too.
I had a little sister, so I saw all these concerts. I even saw the Dirty Dancing tour. Jay, I saw the Dirty Dancing tour. Don't tell anybody.
I'm very disappointed in you. You're metal.
Time of my life.
There's
your metal persona is
yeah, I know. The curtain has been peeled. No, I'm a metalhead. I saw these when I was 11. I had a sister. I get a break. I also saw Poison,
Oh,
White Snake. I saw
Quiet
Guns N'
Riot.
Roses, Metallica, and Faith No More at Giant Stadium in '92.
wow.
I
Quiet
mean, so
Riot.
I saw some shows. AC/DC.
Quiet Riot.
Well, I started seeing that when I got older, after I graduated high school, living
We
in
went.
Freehold, New Jersey. I mean, you saw a lot of shows with me at this venue, but we used to go to the Birch Hill. I used to go to the Birch Hill a couple times a week. That was where I started to see a lot of these bands when they weren't necessarily at their peaks anymore, but putting on great shows. I saw Warrant probably
Twister.
10 times on the Ultraphobic tour, Belly to Belly. I saw Ugly Kid Joe. I saw Ugly Kid Joe at their peak with Def Leppard and Extreme. And then I saw them again, like in a smaller venue at Birch Hill. I mean, back in the day, I saw David Lee Roth on the Lil Ain't Enough tour. But we saw so many of those club shows, Quiet Riot. I saw Rat in the clubs in the 90s. I mean, all the 80s bands I saw in clubs in the 90s, and that was some of the best times of my life. You know, at the Birch Hill. I rest in peace, Birch Hill. Now it's condos. Another product of gentrification, I guess, if you want, you know, whatever.
There's
Improvements.
a theater here in Connecticut called Toad's Place. It's been around for 45 years. And I'm just thinking about it now. And this is something that nobody knows. I had an ex-boyfriend that would sneak me into some of these shows.
Okay.
I didn't even know who half these bands were. I just liked him. I didn't care. Great White was there a while ago. Like I said, I didn't even know who half of these bands were. I was just into this guy.
Okay.
And I just, thinking about it right now, I saw Great White. I don't remember what happened, but I just remember seeing Great White and thinking, oh my gosh, Great White. And so many years later, wow. So now because of you guys, when people say to me, oh, what was your first concert? Toad's Place? What concert? Great White? What year? I don't remember the year, but someone snuck me in. So
There you go. There you go. Those are great stories.
yeah.
Great White. That was sad. What happened to them?
Yes.
Wasn't that up near where you are?
Not far.
That was in Rhode Island.
An hour and a half away from me, 2
Yeah.
hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You I saw not to get off the subject, but I saw a picture with you and John Karabi.
Yes, we had a really cool venue called River Rock Tavern, and it's about half hour from me. And the promoter at the time was in a band years ago. Then he became a promoter, and he brought in a lot of national acts. So I got to meet, oh my gosh, Mike Tramp when he had longer hair. I was freaking out. Good friend of mine named Todd was doing sound. And my buddy Duncan McIntyre, oh my gosh, without Duncan, he's in this band called Vengeance in Connecticut. But he was in LA. I don't know if he made it in LA or not, but he's in a phenomenal metal band called Vengeance. And he's toured with so many bands. And he and Todd were the ones that basically told me about Mike Tramp coming. My fiance and I went. And when he walked in, I thought, oh my gosh, ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. The nicest guy you want to meet. Then Hookers and Blow came to Connecticut with Dizzy Reed, Alex Grassi, originally from Bridgeport, Connecticut. Mike Duda, who's in Wasp, his parents, he's originally from West Haven, Connecticut. My fiance and I got to hang out with his parents. John Kelly from Type O Negative. I can't remember who else was at the show, but we got to meet all the guys. But Mike Duda was my favorite. Then Faster Pussycat came to Connecticut. And Tammy Down, I guess, was feeling sick after the show. So we went back into his tour bus. But the other guys and I, Chad Stewart, Ace Van Johnson, who's now with LA Guns, two of the other guys, Chad Stewart, Christian Snyman, who has a social distancing group page that he started on Facebook. He was there. And we just had fun talking about football and beer and things like that. And then Mike Tramp came again with a shorter gray hair and John Karabi, and they did an acoustic show. And ever since then, well, with the pandemic too, the promoter is no longer there. So I don't know if they're going to be any national acts or not anymore. But that was a lot of fun too. Oh, and I got to meet Billy Sheehan at Toad Place with the winery dogs.
Very nice.
Oh, he was amazing. My Portnoy must have had a bad night because he just walked off to the tour bus. Same thing with Richie Kotzen. Maybe they had a bad night. But Billy Sheehan hung out with everyone at this pizza place right next door. We had pizza, and we hung out with him, and we talked to him, and he was just such a nice guy.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Anyway, but Christina, I will say this. As you know, this is the Sports and Metal podcast.
Yep.
So you have to tell us, you said you were a Yankee fan and a Giant fan.
Yes.
Uh-oh. Jay's going to lose his mind.
I'm also a Mets fan, too, because my dad was a Mets fan.
Well, Aaron loves you now, then. Because Aaron's a diehard.
That's it.
I'm a Mets fan. I grew up with Piazza. I mean, my gosh.
Can't go wrong with Mikey.
No. And then with the Yankees, there was a period of Bernie Williams, Derek Jeter, with Jorge Posada, those guys. But Aaron Judge, and my daughter's a Red Sox fan, but when she says it's Aaron Judge, and the Giants. My father was a Jets fan.
Okay.
But the Giants, for me, okay, I'm not going to lie. Eli Manning. Once I saw him, that was it.
He's your crush?
About football. It was just all about Eli Manning.
I think he's definitely more the looker between him and Peyton.
Peyton's a sweetheart. I mean, oh my gosh.
Well, Peyton, you could show him a movie on his forehead. Ooh, I didn't say that.
I went to a concert with my fiance before the pandemic, and there was a guy sitting right next to me, no lie, that looked just like Peyton Manning.
Okay.
And I thought, what the heck? I should have asked him, are you Peyton Manning?
Maybe it was.
Maybe it was him.
Maybe it was. I don't know. I feel like an idiot, but
I mean, Mike Piazza's a metal fan.
yes, he
Yeah.
is.
Big time metal fan. And he plays the drums. Yeah.
And then I know Bernie Williams has a Caribbean
Yeah.
he plays guitar.
Very accomplished guitar player, Bernie.
Yes.
Williams.
Yeah.
And I know you and Jay are sharing in your misery. His Sixers just blew it, and your Nets blew it.
I
So
know the
you
Nets.
guys are
I'm a Knicks
suffering.
fan, but the next was the Nets. So yeah.
What's that?
I'm originally a New York
Knicks
Knicks
fan.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
But the Nets are good too. Anything New York.
Got it.
The Rangers, that's my hockey team. So
Awesome.
yeah. And anyone that beats the Patriots, when they had Tom Brady. So if you're an Eagles fan, thank you for doing that.
I'm a diehard Eagles fan.
Jason
Thank
appreciates
you know.
that.
Tom Brady that 1 year. Thank you.
Jason appreciates that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the love.
You're
Well, I have
welcome.
a confession. I used to have a T-shirt that said, I like two teams, the Mets and whoever's playing the Yankees. Oh!
Really? I used to like you. Come
I'm sorry,
on,
Christine.
Aaron.
I'm only teasing.
I
I'm
went
only teasing.
right
Hey,
after my dad passed away. My mom and my daughter went to Philadelphia. I did a bad thing. I went there wearing my Mets T-shirt.
Ooh.
Coming home, I wore my New York Giants Super Bowl T-shirt. Yeah.
Philly fans are brutal.
Well, no one noticed it, but then I said to my daughter, because she was a Steelers fan, now she's a Patriots fan. Mom, I said to her, Tamara, where is all the Steelers stuff? Mom, we're in Philadelphia. Oh, geez. Okay, sorry.
Well, not all Philly fans are like that, Aaron. I'm
No.
not.
No.
You're not, but a lot are. Dude, I'll never forget. We were at a Phillies Pirates game.
Me and Aaron.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I might have had a Mets shirt on. I'm gonna say I did.
You did.
These guys started having beef with me, and then because Jay said something, they all wanted to jump Jay, and they were all Phillies fans. Like they're out of their minds.
Oh,
Yeah.
You remember that? They wouldn't
Yeah,
let us
it
go to
was-
the parking
It
lot.
was probably one of the craziest things I remember, like, as a sports fan. Like, I'm a diehard, obviously, but Aaron's my best friend. We're best friends. He's a Mets fan. I'm an Eagles fan. I'm a Phillies fan. He's a Dolphins fan. Like, we have different teams. Doesn't mean we're not best friends.
right.
And, we're tailgating. We go to walk into the game, and these guys start shouting at Aaron, like, F you, we're going to kill you. And then I'm like, dude, calm down. So I start, like, kind of jumping in the middle, and they want to jump me.
Yeah, And then I remember there was something similar on the way out where we couldn't get out of the parking lot. But then these guys started yelling at some other guy with a pirate shirt, so they forgot about us.
So that's kind of when I realized, man, what they say about Philly fans is really true, because I kind of experienced it and I'm a fan. I'm wearing my jersey. I think I had a Chase Utley jersey on at the time, too. Probably one of the most popular Phillies at that time. I think it was back probably when they were on that run.
Wow.
Oh yeah, well, I remember the game in particular we're talking about. It was when the vet was still there. I think it was the last year of the vet.
Oh well, then it was before,
opening day, Phillies Pirates.
Yeah, it was before the run then.
Yeah.
But hey, I wanted to get back into the music a little bit though. I kind of was thinking about this earlier, and I was going to kind of ask the question to all three of us. Okay. So basically the question that I have, and this is a tough one, and I don't want you to think too hard into it, but this goes for metal. So if you had to pick a Mount Rushmore of metal, meaning, so you'd have to pick one vocalist, one guitarist, one drummer, and one bassist. Who would your Mount Rushmore be?
Can I add keyboardist too?
Okay, yeah, that we'll add a fifth to the Mount Rushmore. There you go.
Vocalist. That's tough.
In metal, because obviously if we're going all time, it would probably be like Robert Plant from Led Zeppelin, but
why are you putting words in her mouth? Why does it have to be Robert Plant?
I'm sorry.
I like Joe Elliott a lot from Def Leppard. I think he's a great vocalist. Bruce Dickinson also from Iron Maiden. Fantastic.
Represent.
I saw them when they came to Connecticut 2 years ago. It was my daughter's college graduation present. And they were just unbelievable. And Nico Brick-Brain had just gotten cured for cancer. It was like a Broadway show. They were
fantastic. Yeah, they have the best live show.
Yeah, they're very theatrical show. Yeah.
And Steve Harris's son's band opened up for them. And they were great too. So I would say like a mix between probably like Joe Elliott or Bruce Dickinson.
Okay.
Guitar player. Wow, that's a tough one. Maybe Vivian Campbell.
Love it.
A lot.
I'm catching a Def Leppard theme here.
Rudy Sarzo, Cuban,
Boston
player, drummer. I mean, Eric Carr is no longer alive, but it would be Eric Carr or oh gosh, I just had him in my head. Rick Allen.
Gotta love Rick and what he's done with one arm.
Yes. And keyboardist, Greg Fox.
I knew you were going there. That's all good.
Just saying it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, you know me, Jay. I hate doing this. It's torture to me.
It's okay.
You know me. I'm not a big list guy.
I know, but I'm trying to have fun.
Mood. Okay, I'm with you. Well, that's why I'm prefacing it. I don't want to be held accountable for my list, which could change tomorrow. But okay, if I'm going like Mount Rushmore of heavy metal vocalists, just on the principle of him being the metal god, I would have to say Rob Halford. Mm-hmm. But on the principle of my favorite band of all time being Guns N' Roses, and the guy who has hit more recorded notes than Pavarotti on an album, I'm going Axl. So Axl's my vocalist. But all due respect to Rob, I love you. My lead guitar player, how could it be anybody other than Eddie? I'm going Eddie Van Halen. I'm going Edward Van Halen. You know, I mean, I guess you could also say Tony Iommi for inventing the genre, but to me, Eddie Van Halen perfected the genre, and everything that came after was based off of what Eddie did. So I'm going Eddie. And for my bass player, I love so many bass players, but you know what? Again, they're my favorite band, and also just because I think he's evolved so much as a bass player, and he has played so many different genres of music, and he basically is like a guy that will be on anybody's album, and he's a great songwriter in his own right, and I love his vocal style, even though it's a little unique. It doesn't pay to try. Duff. I'm going with Duff Rose McKagan. So, and then my drummer. Oof, that's a tough one. So many that I love. I could say Alex Van Halen. I could say Tommy Lee, who I don't think is the best technical drummer, but he's definitely got a lot of technical skills. He was in marching band in high school, and he's a great theatrical drummer. So I could go Tommy. Oh, it's a tough one. It's a tough one for me. I'm going to think of it, and then I'm going to think of, I meant this guy. I mean, I'm just going to go because he's so influential in my life. One of my other favorite bands, and seeing him in concert, like I said, he's so theatrical. I'm going Tommy Lee.
Mm.
Like I said, that list could change tomorrow.
Mine too. I forgot about Eddie Van Halen. He did a radio show in Connecticut about 12 years ago. He did an interview. And I called up just to hear Summer Nights. Lord and behold, Eddie Van Halen was being interviewed. They asked if I wanted to say hello to Eddie. We were talking about pizza. I was so nervous talking to the guy. And then when he passed away, everyone was sharing their stories. And I put something out there about saying hello to him and talking about pizza on a local radio station here in Connecticut.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So, Jay, why don't you give us yours since you put us on the spot?
Well, you forgot your keyboardist.
Oh, it's Greg Fox. Everybody knows that.
Thank you. Ding, ding, ding.
All right, well.
Although Eddie's up there, too.
Yes.
Eddie Van Halen.
Yes.
Doesn't get enough credit as a keyboardist.
True.
But he's amazing. But yes, you give me yours, Jay.
Well, I'm probably going to surprise you in quite a few ways. Well, not for Vocalist, though, because you actually already for me, it's between, I know you went between Axl and Rob. Mine is kind of a combination between Rob Halford and Bruce Dickinson. But I'm definitely going to have to go with Rob just because I think as much as Bruce Dickinson did with Iron Maiden, Rob Halford basically, to me, Rob Halford is the metal god. So he belongs on the Rushmore. So
I'll chime in here because you guys both kind of hit on Bruce Dickinson. He's an amazing singer, no question. You're talking about the great vocalists of metal. He's definitely on the list. But I think that Rob's voice transcends a little bit more. Rob has that operatic voice, but he also has that gritty voice. Like, I can't see Bruce Dickinson fronting Fight. Like, Rob Halford can sing like hardcore. He could sing industrial. He could sing classic.
Yeah.
He's got that. To me, Bruce Dickinson is more of an acquired taste. That's my personal opinion. I just think he's a little more theatrical, operatic all the time, and that's not my favorite style. You know what I mean? Bruce Dickinson is always operatic, theatrical. I think Rob is more like Axl. I think Axl and Rob are very diverse in what they do. That's why I prefer.
What about Ronnie James Dio?
Another great vocalist. But here's the thing, and Jay loves Ronnie. I'm surprised you didn't say that. Jay would put Ronnie up there. I know he would. Again, amazing vocalist. Amazing, but he's just not it's not my favorite style. Like, I think Ronnie's kind of like Bruce Dickinson, where it's like, I always call it like that Dungeons and Dragons metal. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like always, it's very theatrical, and sometimes I just like a 4-minute 4/4 rock and roll song with punk influence. So I don't always want to be so serious,
right?
You know, and so that's why they're not my personal favorite. But that takes nothing away, because when you're talking the great vocalists, I'm putting Ronnie James Dio and Bruce Dickinson at or near the top. But I just want to explain why, because you guys both hit on Bruce Dickinson, why I don't put him there for me. To me, he's more of an acquired taste, in my opinion. But there's no right or wrong here. Mm-hmm. So,
well,
go on.
Well, I mean, there is kind of a right or wrong, because you hit it on the head. I mean, I don't think you could have said it any more perfect. Like, you're right. I have all three of it. Like, it's so hard for me to choose one, but because of the fact that Rob Halford can kind of do every single style on the vocal range. I mean, like, what he did with Fight, I agree. I mean, I could never, even as much as Ronnie James Dio could belt out, some amazing, masterpieces. I can't see Ronnie James Dio being on that Fight album. Mm-hmm. So I'm going Rob Halford, for my top vocalist. My top bassist,
So what you're saying is there is a right or wrong because the right answer is Rob Halford.
That's my right answer.
That's what you meant.
I love Axel, but I can't put him over Rob Halford.
Well, Axel's my personal favorite. You know, I agree. I mean, how do you go wrong with Rob Halford? Rob Halford's the metal god. Like he's
now.
What about Ronnie Monroe?
Excellent. There's so many.
He's excellent, but I wouldn't put him on the Mount. When we're talking Mount Rushmore, we're talking top of the top. So
there's so many.
Alice Cooper too.
What's that?
Alice Cooper?
Oh, I don't consider Alice a great vocalist. I think he's more of a great theatrical showman.
Yeah.
I wouldn't consider him a great vocalist.
Right.
But I love Alice. Love Alice.
He's definitely a great entertainer.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I would put him, you know, if you wanted to pick a list of great entertainers, he might be on.
Oh, absolutely. He basically invented the shock rock genre.
But that's my vocalist. So anyway, bass guitar, love Duff McKagan. My personal favorite, even though he was basically, a lot of people said he's not even that good, is Nicky Sixx. He's my personal favorite. But my Mount Rushmore, I'm going to have to go Cliff Burton, dude.
Yeah.
Cliff Burton might have been the best bassist of all time, and not just in metal. I mean, the guy was a friggin' genius.
You can go Geddy Lee. There's so, like, I just love Duff personally, but you can go Geddy Lee.
But,
Flea, you could go.
Yeah, but I'm talking, well, yeah, but metal, it's got to be Cliff Burton. I mean, that guy, I mean, I know, you know, Metallica's had some good bassists after him, but no one compares to Cliff Burton. So he's on my Mount Rushmore.
Am I going to get crucified for saying this? I love Cliff Burton, but don't you think he's been martyred a little bit because he died in that tragic accident?
I don't. I think he's.
I do.
I think he's amazing. I listened to
Jason
what he
Newsted
did.
was amazing, and they turned his bass down.
I don't think Jason Newsted can hold a candle.
Cliff. He's an amazing, but I just do think he's been martyred a bit. That's me.
Well, I mean, you're entitled to that opinion.
I'm entitled. Yep.
My drummer. This is probably going to shock you too, but my drummer's got to be Mike Portnoy. I was going to go either Mike Portnoy or Dave Lombardo from Slayer.
Excellent choices.
Cuban too. Dave Lombardo could be my long lost Cuban cousin. I'll find out.
You know who I didn't think of? I said my list could change moment to moment. Charlie Benante. He might be my favorite thrash drummer.
Definitely.
He is amazing. I could easily go Charlie. But go on, Jay.
No, if we're talking my favorite, it could be Nick Menza too.
Yes.
I
mean, there's so many, and that's the thing, and you're right, and that's why you hate these lists, because it's like they're so. It's basically, you know, how your taste is. But guitar, I mean, there's not even anyone that can compare. Like, if I wanted to say my personal favorite guitarist is Slash. But if we're going Mount Rushmore, we wouldn't have a Slash if we didn't have Eddie Van Halen. So,
well, here's the thing. I mean, Slash doesn't even really, of all the metal guitarists, Slash probably imitates Eddie the least.
No, I agree.
Which is why I think we both love Slash's playing, because let's be honest, Slash isn't a great technical player. And he's actually at times very sloppy, but that's what I love about Slash.
Feels.
He has a feel. That's one of the favorite things I loved about Guns N' Roses shows when they were at their prime, was how sloppy they could be, because that's what made it raw and dangerous and real. Like, they would come out, they didn't have a set list. The only thing that was set in stone was that Mr. Brownstone was being played second. Outside of that, what are we playing? You know, and it could be they were hammered, drunk, whatever. It was sloppy, but it was raw. And that's what I loved about Slash. So I don't think Slash is really an Eddie disciple in that sense, but all the other guys are. But I think I kind of get what you're saying, how you love Slash. There's nothing wrong with that. He's definitely not the Eddie Van Halen.
I mean, honestly, if I had to, like I said, my personal preference, I like his style because
I agree.
I think it's so unique. And I agree. Out of all the guitar, like, let's face it, all the late 80s metal 90 guitarists, they were all chasing what Eddie was.
Oh, sure.
Slash was kind of like the antithesis of Eddie in that he played more of like a blues type, punk type style of guitar. And that's kind of what I liked, especially about that, the 87, Appetite for Destruction release. The whole
all the material. I mean, to this day, you've never seen Slash two-hand tap on the neck of the guitar. He doesn't do it. He says that. And it was a disaster of a performance. But you might remember when Velvet Revolver did Ain't Talking About Love at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction for Van Halen. As much as I loved Velvet Revolver and I love Slash and I love Duff, I thought it was a disaster of a performance because Scott Weiland's voice was just not there and it was sloppy. So of all performances, that was the worst. But even on that, you saw Slash, when he got to the lead, he was just kind of just doing it on hammer-ons and pull-offs. He wasn't playing like Eddie at all, with the tapping. So even when he was covering Van Halen, Slash didn't emulate Eddie Van Halen, which speaks a lot, But anyway.
Oh, yeah.
What were you going to say?
Wait,
What, did you cut out?
Did I cut out?
Maybe you did. I don't know. What's the last thing you heard?
I couldn't understand what you were saying. Maybe I did cut out.
That's
sorry.
No problem, Jay.
So, I didn't pick my keyboardist.
We're ready.
Well, it's Greg Fox.
Yay!
So it's a trifecta for Greg.
Yeah, we love you, Greg. Anyway, Christina, I wanted to say it was an honor having you on the show tonight. Before we split, why don't you tell everybody one more time where they can check you out, all your different social medias. Tell everybody where to find you.
I have a Facebook page. Then I have a business page link. It's Crazy Cuban 73. I have an Instagram page, which is Crazy Cuban 73. I have a LinkedIn page. I had Twitter, but it was just holding up too much data. So I just disabled that. Yeah, that's basically all. I just want to thank you guys for having me on tonight. I want to thank all the bands that have been supporting me. Lonnie Hammer and Hammer Down Hard. You talk about one heck of a drummer. Holy shit, he was in Jack Russell's Great White for a while. He's an excellent vocalist too. There's an awesome hard rock band in Arizona called Dead West. Oh my gosh, the lead singer Vinny Sky. Wow, it's like Leonard Skinner, but a little harder.
There he is.
Hey, Greg.
There's Greg.
There he is.
There I am. We love you too, Greg.
There's a new, he's not metal, but he's a solo guitarist. His name is Russ Hewitt, and he kind of looks like Marnie Freeman a little bit. Man, when he can play that guitar can sing. Oof. Of course, Renaissance Rock Orchestra, Stepchild with Kevin Jones. So many people. There's an Argentinian band I'm working with called Ironia. A guitar player from Finland, originally from Chile, named Eric Avila. No, we're not related. I wish we were.
I was going to say, is that your long-lost cousin?
I wish. That's the first thing I asked him, and he said, no, that's all right. A band from London called Shameful Behavior. Milan, Italy. They're called Bolzano, Italy, called Scanners. There's just tons and tons of musicians, but everyone out there that has been supporting me, that's made everything happen. You guys got to check out Love Bone with Roy Costin. Check out his website. Also, Ronnie Robson from Ontario, Toronto, Canada. He has a website too. He's another one. All the musicians I'm working with. Carlos Arroyo, guitar player from Orange County. He's another one. He has a Jimi Hendrix tribute band called Stone Free. And they just...
I don't hate you, Greg.
Okay, Greg, really? Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. It's all good. But yeah, everyone out there that I'm promoting, I'm working with, assisting, representing, everybody out there, thank you so much. And thank you guys for having me on tonight, too.
Absolutely.
It was a blast. I mean, like I said, earlier, you have a great story, and I love what you're doing in this the music scene. And like I said, get these bands out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get back to playing.
Keep the music alive.
I'm trying
Get back
to.
playing.
I'm trying to.
Thanks again, Christina. It's been a pleasure. Everybody out there, we hope you enjoyed the show. Hit us up. Check out our website, www.sportsandmetal.com. Check us out on YouTube at Sports and Metal, Twitter at Sports and Metal, Facebook at Sports and Metal. Check us out. Leave comments. Leave feedback. We want to hear it. If you have questions, shoot us a message. Sports and Metal at sportsandmetal.com. You can email us. We want to hear from you. And as always, rock on.
Peace out.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Christina.
And that's our show. Tune in next time for more Sports and Metal with Jason Voorhees and Aaron Savage. Woo, yeah! Got something to say? Hit us up at sportsandmetal0423 at yahoo.com.